All right, Dave, I think we're live.
Okay.
Paramount Podcast, episode 1. We're doing this again. We're doing it the right way. This will be our first episode of Revving Up 2025, the future of dealership success. My name is Dominic Bickus, the Vice President of Sales and Marketing at Paramount Lead Solutions. And we've got our guest today, who's going to be a frequent guest on this podcast, the CEO of Paramount Lead Solutions, Dave Dini.
Hi, Dom. Dom Bickus. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
And I hope I'm invited back.
How's Florida treating you, Dave?
It's nice. It's beautiful. Yep. I haven't, I know this is part of our podcast, whatever, we could delete this. But for the last 3 months, we've been, as you know, I've been in Colombia and then coming to Chicago a little bit. So I haven't had the experience of Florida I would have really liked to enjoy, but that's okay. I know the families had fun and that kind of thing. But the weather's beautiful today.
Awesome.
We got some nice weather going over there too in Chicago.
Not today. No. It's raining. It's supposed to be snowing here soon. Not today.
Well, I know we had a couple of at least one day of 79.
We did.
A couple
That was
60s.
Sunday.
Yeah.
Sunday. Yeah, that was a nice day.
All right, well, take us along here. I know you got this outline ready for us, and then let's dive in.
Yeah, let's jump into it. So today we want to talk about new car sales trends, lead response strategies, AI, generative AI, and marketing. That's been the talk of the town, the buzzwords. Fixed operations, customer lifecycle, training. So we'll go over these topics here, and let's kick it off with the first one. So the state of dealerships today and new car sales. Here's a current trend. New car sales reached 15.9 million units in 2024. That was up from 14.5 million in 2020. It's still
That was
less.
2020, huh?
That was 2020. So it's still less than the 2019 figure of 17 million, but it seems like car sales are starting to kick back up.
Mm-hmm.
Dealership consolidation is still an all-time high. Companies like Carvana just announced they bought a new Chrysler dealership. What do you think, Dave, is behind the shift?
When we're talking about what's happened to this industry over the last just even 5 years, we as Paramount have been on the fringe of the industry and disrupting, if you will,
Yeah.
since 2003. And right around 2003 was when there was an established pattern of dealerships using BDCs and those types of things, and using the digital landscape to create customers. So the trend has been, okay, we got to have a good product, we have to have all this stuff, but the trend has been towards technology, and let's move away from the salespeople. Let's make it turnkey. The customer still needs the drive. And I know I'm getting ahead of myself and things we're going to be talking about. Customers still need to drive. You got to find a quality automobile. Some people they find value in dependability. Some people find value in looking sharp. Those things haven't changed. Then there's the industry itself, supply and demand, interest rates, inflation. We're going through some things now. Certain manufacturers have struggled. Nissan has struggled tremendously in the last 10 years. They had infrastructure problems, right? Their leader went off to another country and, had abandoned Nissan. We also know that Stellantis bought out Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, Ram. Anyway, I think that things, as much as they change, they remain the same, though. And we're seeing the ups and downs things. But then we went through COVID. So you're talking about 2019 with 17 million.
Yep.
Then you go through a COVID time. But remember, during COVID, the biggest issue was we thought it was going to be people couldn't get out. but people were just still wanting to buy cars, but it was
Yeah.
supply and demand.
There was inventory. I mean, there
Right.
was,
There was no supply.
yeah,
So people were paying $5,000 and $10,000 more. And
yeah.
so I don't know where we were going exactly on the question there.
Well, just what's behind the shift. So it seems car sales were down, and now we're seeing the shift again where things are starting to pick back up. I
Well,
think
right.
it's do this almost, it's now now we're back a little bit to what things were like before. I think this is what we've been helping dealers with over the last 3 years, back to basics, right? We've had
Yeah.
this philosophy that, hey, things are changing, things will come back to the norm. It's not I am a dealership and I have this one brand new car and no one else has that car. So there's going to be a line of customers waiting to purchase that car and I can charge them whatever I want for it. Now we've seen a change where everyone's got inventory again. It's not, you're not the only one that has that specific vehicle. You have to sell again. You have to get back to doing the basics things again. I mean, what do you think? Are you seeing sort of the same thing with that trend?
Yeah, you brought up a point that made me think of something. We're talking about the industry, we're talking about this business, and what was it I was just thinking? Oh, it was that you talked about a little bit right here when you talked about consolidation at an all-time high and
Yeah,
Carvana jumping in
yeah,
and the new car franchise game, what's behind things. And one of the things that people talk about often, I don't know if this is where you were going, is where is the industry going? People often ask, are people just going to buy cars direct from the manufacturer? I don't see that happening anytime soon for the points you just brought up. Carvana's jumping in. Why would Carvana jump in if they thought in the near future this was going to deal direct with the manufacturer? Why why are all these auto groups buying up franchises? You know,
why is Amazon entered the game recently with Hyundai and they're
really?
taking a
Yeah,
lot more?
I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think what the whole industry is wrought with, which it doesn't make it necessarily bad, but the reason why things we go through all these economic trends and all this ups and downs, and because there's a necessity to drive. It's the human condition in America, at least everybody wants to have a car. And then the problems are that the industry's wrought with are that it's not like McDonald's, like we talked about. It's
Yeah.
not like Allstate Insurance. If
Mm-hmm.
you own a franchise, all these franchises sell the same product, they sell it the same way for the same cost. These dealerships have these almost independent franchises doing whatever they want to do. There's certain rules, but not great rules.
Yeah.
So to be able to go direct to a manufacturer, every manufacturer has to play the game the same way. There's all these manufacturers. McDonald's is just McDonald's. Then there's a Burger King, then there's a Wendy's, and they're all doing whatever they're doing at all their franchises. But if Stellantis has whatever the number might be, 2,000 dealerships, and then if Kia has 2,000 and Nissan has two, and they're all doing different things, you've got no controls. So as a manufacturer, how do you ever get control of your 2,000 dealerships? That's
Yeah.
the only way to do that is to not have franchises anymore,
Right.
or to change the rules of a franchise. So I don't see
And
that
you,
happening anytime with the lobbyists they have, you
yeah.
know, in Washington.
Yeah.
There's just no way things are going to change anytime soon.
And
Go ahead.
maybe this is where the
Hey,
consolidation
Dom, can you
comes.
pause this?
I can.
Oh, good.
Yeah. You want me to pause it?
Yeah.
And I think we can wrap here on this topic, but I think maybe for manufacturers to want to have more control of that process, maybe that's where some of that consolidation comes into place rather than Nissan having, their 2,000 dealerships that are owned by 1,000 individual people or 500 individual groups. Wouldn't it be easier if, hey, all 2,000 Nissan dealerships are owned by these 5 groups, and then you can have more of a top-down approach
Sure.
to digital retailing and the customer interaction and the lead process and presenting your product. So who knows? That's just the thought.
Yeah, and we'll move on to the next thing, but it touches on all the points you're about to go make. That if you're the manufacturer, you don't have control right now. So you might
Yeah.
have a great idea of what you'd like to have happen for your brand,
Yeah.
but you got to get all these 2,000 stores to play ball. And right now they don't have to. So if
And
you
we
want to
see how
sell,
difficult
right. So
that
if you want to
is
sell more
when
new
we
cars,
talk to them. Yeah.
yeah, if you want to sell more new cars, market, advertise, do all this stuff, they start flooding into your franchises. What's happening at the front door of these franchises? It's different every place. Go ahead.
I I think too, it's like you said, these manufacturers, some of the reps or district managers, I mean, they have great intentions. Hey, this is the next marketing plan we're going to utilize across these dealerships, but they don't have control. So then it's you sign up for an idea and then you're crossing your fingers and hoping and praying that it actually works, that it actually helps you move the needle to sell more new cars.
Totally.
But does it? It doesn't always.
No. Yeah, you can get a lot of it right, but it's like that leaky faucet. You know, every little component within that organization, within that business, within that manufacturer, if you're building with one, you could be tearing down with the other and you stay the same. Makes me think about when we get invited or we get the opportunity to work with a client. We sometimes hear them say, "Oh, Paramount starts out strong, but then it dies off over time." That's the one thing that we complain
Yeah.
about or that we hear about. And my response to that is, look, I'm not going to sit here and beat our chest and say, "Oh, we're great all the time." We're pretty good 99% of the time. And what I believe happens is people get excited in the beginning with the new shiny penny, and there's an uptick of traffic. But the problem is inside the dealership to the point we're making.
Yeah.
So if you're used to selling 100 cars, Paramount comes in, you're up to 150. Most of the people that work for you, unless it's easy, they're not all of a sudden going to become people that go from selling 20 cars to 30. Something's got to give. And what happens is they settle back into who they are. Their thought process, how they go about things. You could give them all the tools in the world, they're going to wind up being who they are over time. So when they start selling 100 again, it's not that Paramount dipped off. We're still bringing in the same amount of people we were bringing in. Their closing ratios goes down, but to keep it up, to make everybody look good, I didn't sell that one. Let's not put it in the system. Let's not put it in the systems. And this is what's going on at dealerships. They're not used to selling, and I'm getting into another point. They don't know what selling really is. But go ahead. Let's get to the next thing.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, let's transition and dive a little bit deeper now into tactics at dealerships. So lead response rates, BDC, internet departments, closing ratios. I mean, this is specifically one of the lanes that we help dealerships
Sorry, I'm
with.
not in the screen here. Yeah.
No, that's okay. So, Dave, research shows that dealerships responding to leads within 5 minutes can triple their conversion rates. Why is speed critical in today's market, and what are the biggest barriers dealerships face in achieving this?
Yeah, Dom. And for those of you that are watching, Dom's prepared a lot of my answers, which is great, Dom. Thank you. But I agree with these answers, and we did talk a little bit before we got on the live stream here. At the end of the day, there's a saying or a methodology that says the most successful people, the most successful businesses, that they act. They take action. They get to it. They don't sit there and draw out a wonderful plan. And this is in sales as well. You can make grand plans to make the call and the person's not there. They're just busy signal, whatever. So the best action or the best thing to do is just take action. And I think that's true with the way technology has advanced us. It hasn't made us more impatient. It just made us our expectations greater for response. We want instant gratification, instant everything. So when that doesn't happen and there's a delay, I don't know what the exact time frame is. People are moving to the next one because there's other places that sell that car, or something grabs their attention, or they just change their mind. Car buying isn't always, but not but, and there's a good percentage of people that buy on impulse. There's a reason why we are successful for our dealers, because we bring people into the store that aren't in the market. We
Yeah.
grab their attention by some narrative and making sense to them. So what happens, in this lead response time? I just think that the most important thing is that you respond absolutely, and you respond quickly, even if it's not perfect. You do have to be careful though, because some people don't care. There has to be caring behind your response. And the people that don't care, they're just doing a job that someone told them they have to do, which is to respond in a certain period of time. They don't know why, and they don't have value behind their response. So their response is so off-putting to the consumer that it actually works against you to have speed. Speed
Yeah.
doesn't matter at
It's
that point. Go ahead.
I think it's weighing these two of what is more important or what is most important, speed versus accuracy. And I guess in a perfect world, you would want both ultimate speed and ultimate accuracy. But I mean, these are things we talk about at our company. This is things we see at dealerships where just because you respond in under 5 minutes or in the first minute or in the first 30 seconds, well, that's fine. But that doesn't mean that's necessarily the right message if it's a templated response going out every single time. Hey, I've got the car. When do you want to come in? Hey, my manager's giving you an extra $500 off. When do you want to come in? Well, everyone is doing that. So I think it's being fast, but then also how do you separate yourself? How do you differentiate yourself? Why buy here and why buy right now? I think that is equally as important.
Yeah, yes, I agree. Response time is great, and you have to know what is the outcome that I'm trying to get. And for a lot of people that are trained to do our work, they get trained on speed without any understanding as to why the speed is important. It's the value behind the speed for an outcome of making sure this customer feels that they are valued, that we really care. And if we lose the caring part, then the speed didn't matter.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it just made me think if the focus is speed so you complete a task,
right.
that's the wrong thing about thinking of speed.
Yeah,
If your focus is speed to get the outcome, I would say that's probably the right way then to think of
absolutely.
speed.
Absolutely.
Beautiful. Well, let's talk about AI a bit. I know we've been working with, creating, building different AI tools within our company. I know when that Chat GPT moment dropped a couple of years back, I still remember where I was with Frank in North Carolina, and I was totally blown away by this thing, having it create rap songs for me. And you look at where things have come now, almost probably about 3 years to the date. It's revolutionized a ton. Personally, I can't remember the last time I Googled anything for any questions that I have. It's Chat GPT or it's Grok or it's all the different tools that are out there. And we're starting to see that change implemented in the automotive industry. So with generative AI's market, it's projected to grow significantly. It looks like it's projected to hit 3.9 billion by 2034 in the automotive industry. How do you think, Dave, dealerships can utilize AI for personalized marketing or lead conversion without overwhelming their teams? What do you think about AI in the auto industry more broadly?
Mm. Dom, it takes me back to my earliest of days working on the phone. working in a call center, being a telemarketer back in the day. And I just remember saying to myself that if every single call, every single person that was working in this call center had the same belief system, would say the same words. When the customer says this, you say that. When the customer says this, you say that. I remember saying to myself, I could train a monkey if I could. And I don't know. I don't know if that's a great analogy. I'm just saying this is what I was thinking back in the 80s. That would get a result. It might not be as good as me or some of the top salespeople, but it would get a result. The problem for so many of the salespeople that were in that room, they came in with a mindset that might be defeated or a pessimist, or they have a background of failure in them and they'd like to be, but they don't believe in themselves. And it has what their words and what they're experiencing from the consumer has to run through the filters of their life, from their environment. Technology doesn't need that. Technology doesn't have feelings in all, in a environment, in a past. So that's what AI, I think, is doing. And I guarantee, and you know this better than anybody, that this is where it came from. It came from someone's idea that human beings are inefficient. And this is where technologies come from. All these different technologies is to brighten it up because the human beings don't do it. So I think it's all going to help. At the end of the day, it's still going to take, to get it over the hump, the greater percentage of the difference between this dealership and that, this manufacturer and that one, will be the ability to get human beings to interact and engage at some point. But I totally know it can make so many dealerships or any industry so much more efficient, because
Yeah.
now you've got that bottom rung, that bottom third, let's just say, that human beings aren't doing.
Yeah.
That this technology is going to take over and really make a great difference for the consumer, because they're going to get that response they need to get. And it's a pretty simple transaction. They have to go from where they are to what they want, and they don't have to deal with inept, inefficient, lack of caring human beings. If that answers what you're talking about.
Yeah. And I was just thinking as you were speaking to, you know, training people and the amount of people that you've trained throughout the years. We talk about WSM in our company, right? Your work ethic, your skill set, and your mindset. Well, I think we focus a ton on training work ethic and then also mindset. And then, hey, if you can have these two, you'll always be able to train someone that skill set.
Yeah.
I think with AI, what's interesting is, well, it's already got the work ethic. It can go 24/7, 365 as long as your computer is running. It's already got the mindset or some mindset, and maybe, we can talk more about that.
Even if it has no mindset, it
Yeah.
doesn't think good
At
or
least it
bad.
doesn't have a bad mindset.
Right,
It
right,
just,
right.
so that isn't a question. So then the only thing you focus on is, how do I build out that skill set? How do I build out the business logic, the methodology, the scripting, the rebuttals, objections, flow to that conversational state, the integrations? But it's interesting to think about of how that can help dealerships in various parts of their daily workflows or plans that they're doing. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, there's tons. I mean, we've identified the pain points of dealerships. When you talked about our basic back to basics, our back to basics program as a company features and focuses in on not about 11 or more pain points at a dealership. Not to
Yeah.
go into all of them, but the showroom missed follow up that management is supposed to do, or a salesman. Galley lists that are coming from the manufacturers. People in service that bought from a different dealership that are under the dealership's nose as customers turning those people into their customers. They're called conquest.
Yeah.
Same day service, conquest, or previously sold customers, equity mining potentially, previously sold. The Latin community, Spanish market. There's other foreign languages, right? So you got Spanish and then you got foreign language. So we can go on and on. There's a lot more to do, especially with phone, things like that.
Yeah.
When you talk about all those areas, within all those areas, just to use it as a number, let's just say there's 10,000 names. We could agree right now where AI is that right now at the dealership level, let's just blanket and say no one is handling the Ocean's 11 area. Old leads past 4 days or 14 days, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So if you have an AI agent that can deliver a message without pessimism, not necessarily optimism, answer questions, because the customer's going to engage. But what percentage? I don't know for sure yet. But let's just say 20% are willing to talk to a machine, even though they don't all know that it's a robot. But even if it's 20%, that's 2,000 of your 10,000, and you touched all 10,000. What percentage might get pissed off? If 20% are willing to engage, then maybe 20% hate you. So you find a way to filter that by saying, hey, look, if this is our, Dom Bickus AI, he's here to talk to you today. If you've got an issue with that, we can have a human being pick up the telephone right now, or, we move it over here and we send you an email and a text, whatever.
Yeah.
So I really know that we're going to pick up efficiencies for the dealership with this AI because there's nobody doing it now. Nobody.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, it's powerful, and I think there's certain things to be said about the skill set of it as well.
Absolutely.
Where you don't necessarily need it. You don't necessarily need for it to have value to be as great as our best. There's immense value if it can just be as good as that kid you hire off the street tomorrow that doesn't know anything, who just graduated high school or college
and doesn't care. But even if but how many of them are not even hiring that person?
Right.
Right?
Right.
And think about this. You're too young to know, but there weren't always emails. So first it was just the phone, and then it was snail mail. It was letters. Letters came. Oh, everybody wanted to do mailer. Then there was email. Then there were cell phones. Then there was texting. It didn't take away jobs because no one's doing this stuff. It's just helping be a little bit more communicative with your base, with your customers, with your leads. And it's going to make things more efficient and help dealers. They still need, and I know you're going here, they need to train their people. You need people that want to be there, and they need to be trained.
Yeah, no doubt. And I'm certain we'll be discussing the topic of AI more on future episodes as well. So last few topics we'll talk about. Let's talk about fixed operations. Let's talk about service and service departments. So I think service departments, fixed op departments, they're often underutilized. They're often fixed ops departments make up 50% of dealerships' revenue. So how can dealerships better integrate sales and service to maximize this revenue stream? What do you think about service? What do you think are some things that we see with service, with inbound call answer rates, and what are your takes overall, Dave, just high level on fixed ops departments for dealerships?
Dom, the model that we talk about, remember we started this conversation with why it's difficult for the manufacturer to ultimately get their outcome in selling more cars or keeping more customers. It's because they don't have control over everything that's happening at every dealership. Yeah. The dealership itself doesn't have control the way they should, or they don't have the know-how. And that's why we've had a podcast we've done, if you recall, talking about how owners became owners of these dealerships, or general manager became general manager, and they need to get out of their own way. The problem is they'll hire some expert that knows how to get them the result, and then they want to take that thing that is already perfectly built to get them the solution they want, and they want to take their filters of their brain and say, well, I don't want that on it or this on it. I want you to do it this way. You know, like the whole industry is. It's a hodgepodge and it's a mess. In the service department, it's the same as it is in the sales department. You got a whole bunch of different people handling things out of necessity from the human being that drives in their car. I've got a broken down car. Can you fix it? Yes. Okay. Then they go in there and they fix it when the person gets there. But the customer service is void. Just like in sales, salesmanship is void. So, because people have to buy and people have to get their cars fixed. So, because of that, salesmanship, customer service, empathy hasn't evolved. It comes to some people naturally through their environment, how they've lived, but it hasn't evolved. So, dealerships are inefficient in the service department. Here's the first thing they don't do: they don't answer the phone. The techs are busy with wrenches.
Yeah.
The service advisors don't want to deal with it. So they try AI, which can help a little bit, but that they're just getting there. And then they have human beings answer the phone when they feel like it. If they're not eating bonbons or taking a lunch break or having a romance that they're upset about within the dealership, or they've taken the day off, they're not around anymore.
Yeah.
So for us, how did we, become what we are in sales? The Ocean's 11, the basics, back to basics. Well, then how do we influence a dealership's service drive or service department or fixed ops? It's just doing the little things over and over with caring, like picking up the telephone and then scheduling the appointment and then confirming the appointment and then following up with the appointment. Did you make it in? Oh, you didn't. And then making sure you tell the customer you're not actually going to get your car back today before they get there. So they're not sitting there for 6, 8, 12 hours thinking they were getting their car. And then talking to the customer, hey, by the way, since you're not going to get your car back today, how are you getting home? And, these simple little things are things that the dealership isn't doing on a regular basis. And then the service advisor, who's, I'm sure, a step above the tech, they still don't have empathy. We've heard complaints all over the country. So now the customer has these declined services and the service advisor is pissed. Well, wait a minute. Maybe they just need a little bit of massaging to help them understand what's coming down the tracks if they don't get this fixed. And or a nice little handoff to sales that knows how to sell and says, hey, that could be $1,000 or $2,000. Or you just got it fixed and it cost you a lot. What if we ate that and built that back into your trade and have an opportunity here to talk about putting you in something new? Because that $1,000 could turn into another $1,000 6 months from now. You know how cars are, Mr. Bickus. So these little things, Dom, are the things that we focus on. And this is going to sound like a sales pitch for Paramount, and it should be a little bit. This is the state of the industry and why things don't work at the auto industry or any industry. It's the same thing in real estate. It's the same thing in furniture. It's the same thing in investments. It's the same thing in tech or big pharma. These people are selling stuff and they're doing it partially. They're not doing it with want and desire and empathy.
And I think you hit it right on the head, and this just keeps playing back in my head as you're speaking, but we're always reacting. It's not being proactive.
Mhm.
So a dealership service department is handling the customers that are coming in whose cars are broken, who need oil changes or tire rotations, and they do okay at that. But how many dealerships do you and I know that we've spoken to that all want to be doing something because they're not doing anything for retention or for CSI or for recalls or for any proactive outreach? I mean, we haven't bumped up into many that are doing anything, and the ones that are doing something, it's, well, we send out an email blast, or we've
Yeah.
got this new email tool that
Yeah.
sends these alerts.
Yeah.
Stop it. I mean,
Yeah.
this has to be a department of your business, a focus of someone who is doing this job, not just sitting back on your heels and hoping and praying that, hey, we're going to improve business by just relying on the customers that are going to come in anyways. That seems like backwards thinking.
Dom, I'm gonna tell you one quick thing and we'll move off this topic if you're ready. I was on a plane coming to Florida on whatever day that was, Tuesday, and had this experience. And I don't think it's an epiphany, but it certainly felt different. My wife was sitting a row ahead of me. They knew it was her birthday. I didn't say anything, so they must look. They took the time. Maybe they do that on every flight. This is the
Yeah,
day of the
I've
flight.
never.
They've got
Yeah,
everybody's information, but I've never heard it before. And this guy said, the attendant, whatever you call him, flight attendant, he said,
flight attendant.
"Hey, that snack box is on us." I said, "Hey, what's up with that?" Whatever. The next thing you know, mine is free because they knew we were together. They put the names together, even though we weren't sitting next to each other. Then my buddy couldn't get his plug to work. For whatever reason, he couldn't get charging. The guy goes out of his way and says, "Nah, I'm going to write this up for the worst thing possible so that you get full benefit." He got $100 and his wife got 75. And I said to my friends afterwards, I said, imagine if we were on some test flight and they told every worker on the flight, your job is to look everybody in the eyes, tell everybody how much you appreciate them, go out of your way, way out of your way, and do things that are almost ridiculously nice. That's what I felt. It
Yeah,
wasn't just us. There was several things
yeah,
going on. And then let's test to see how many positive surveys we get back. My brain was,
yeah, yeah,
to your
yeah,
point, could you imagine if everybody treated their business that way, or every service department did that with every customer? Now I know you can't give it all away, and you shouldn't, but
yeah.
that's a lot to be said about what's not happening fixed ops wise in a service department
Mm-hmm.
of the dealership.
Yeah. No, that's great. And this quote just keeps ringing in my head. I don't know where he got it from. Maybe it was his original. Your good friend Jack, but he said to me when we were speaking, small degrees of separation make the biggest difference in the world. And I totally agree.
Yeah,
And that story you shared is an example of that.
yeah,
It doesn't take much to get people to change their minds or think about something differently. It's little things like acknowledging that it's someone's birthday. I mean, we remember those things.
yeah.
So I think that is where a lot of that success hides, is in those small, little, tiny degrees, small steps. That's what make a big
I
difference.
agree totally.
Yeah. Beautiful. We talked fixed ops, we talked AI, we talked lead response times. Let's just talk about the last topic here, Dave, and we'll wrap. And that topic is training. We uh, we talk about training as a company all of the time. You got something important there?
No, I'm looking at your meeting.
Okay.
I'm looking at us.
I
Sorry.
gotcha. So training, Dave. I know we've spent time with training at our company. We talk about training all the time. We've built out our new Paramount University training platform that we'll include here in the podcast link. But what is the value that you see of training for dealerships? What role does continuous training play in keeping dealership staff happy, adaptable, high performing? What are your thoughts about the need and the necessity for training today for dealerships?
Dom, again, it's every industry. I don't care where you are. You go to that job, and there's a few really great ones at the job, and they just say, "Hey, follow me, watch me, do what I do." That's probably it at most dealers. And then you go into any industry, it might be a little more than that at some. There's not much more. I've been inside them.
Yeah.
Insurance, uh, investments, real estate. It's the same. So at some point in time, and I learned part of this from playing sports all my life, there's a methodology to it. And then I heard it reinforced in a book I read once called Unlimited Power by Tony Robbins, that its basis is neurolinguistic programming. The bottom line is success leaves clues, so does failure. And the people that are successful at things, they think a certain way in certain circumstances and then take specific action. And those things can be taught, not overnight. It takes different people, different amounts of time. But the dealership spends so much time on buying technologies and leads and hardware. Most dealers don't spend much at all on continuing education and on psychology and mental health and on sales training, the skill side, WSM. Some people don't know what a work ethic is. Some people didn't play sports, at a high level. Some people didn't necessarily have a great example at home on what it took to get up every day and make it happen, and that you do that often without any outcome. So those things, knock on wood, because of how I grew up, are instilled in our company.
Yeah.
And that's the basis for our company. As you know, we have AI agents now, and we have this great Paramount Direct technology, and we have the relationship with IST for Spanish. We have the Ocean's 11 programs with equity mining, BDC insurance. None of that stuff matters without people, and the people don't matter unless they're trained how to think and believe, how to work hard, and then of course skill set.
Yeah.
So
And
that's it for
I
me. Yeah.
think I think too that with training, often, at least from dealerships, from what I see and the feedback I get, a lot of the training will be, hey, it's the product knowledge, right? It's, hey, know the difference in trim levels of this car versus that car, engine size, or colors or features. And that stuff is important too, don't get me wrong. But I think that there isn't enough training on how to actually do the job, how to get more customers in front of you. Now you have a customer in front of you. They're not just going to lay down and say, hey, I'm ready to buy that car, hand me the keys. There's a process and a system to what that conversation flow looks like. So I think there's maybe there's a lack of training throughout. The training that does exist, I think, does focus a little bit more on that product knowledge, which can often be over analyzing, knowing too much, and there's not enough training on the actual how do I do this job? How do I excel? How do I get my outcome?
You know what? You know why, Dom? You know why? Because the
Because it's hard.
industry is built on need of the human beings that are driving cars. They're not coming to the dealership because they're sold. They're sold on the fact they need a new car. And our society has programmed them that you get that car by going to the dealership and getting run through the coals and feeling uncomfortable and all this. It's a process. So you have to understand all these things. The bottom line is people at the dealership level aren't selling. They think that they are, but they never were involved in sales and they still aren't. All they are doing is facilitating some customer that has a need based on survival, and that need is to buy a car. So they got to come there. And now this person thinks they're the salesman. They're not selling anything. When they're selling something, it's when they can go ahead and get on a telephone and talk to somebody and sell that customer on, there is a train coming down the tracks called your car doesn't love you anymore. That car is going to break down and leave you stranded on the side of a highway, or when you don't have a job anymore and all of a sudden you need a car. All these different factors, and they're going to suggest to that customer that they have a special need for what that customer is driving right now, more so than they might normally have. These types of things are things that aren't taught at the dealership level because they don't ever have to sell ultimately. If they just shoot fish in a barrel and wait for someone to come in that needs a car, it's going to happen for them. And if it doesn't, get them next month. Get them next month. So at the dealership level, at any company, but at dealership level, they need to be taught what selling is ultimately. What is selling in the auto industry? How do you sell somebody that's not buying? How do you sell somebody that's not in the market? How do you sell somebody that hates your dealership, hated the service experience? Whatever those things are, that's all selling. And we can teach it, and we do teach it.
Beautiful. Well, we'll wrap here, Dave, and a last question. You've dropped, I think, a lot of wisdom today, a lot of great insight, and talked about selling. So, Dave, last question, and sell the audience here a bit. What is it that makes Paramount Lead Solutions the must-have partner for dealerships here in 2025?
Okay, that's fair. That's a good question. We talked a little bit in this conversation about it. There are at least 11. I don't like saying at least, but there's 11 pain points we've identified as major in communication with a dealership's customer base that they're not doing. There are technologies. Dealerships have so many different technologies. There's AI. And there's so many different viewpoints of that. Paramount has created a business on being able to handle the things that the dealerships don't handle themselves consistently. We've got a reputation for it. We have created our expertise on doing this for the dealership. It's a cookie cutter. It's boutique firm, so we can adjust to every dealership's needs, because sometimes some only need 8 of the 11 or 9 of the 11, whatever it might be. We've added our own technologies with Paramount Direct, with IST, with AI agents, and all our technologies. And we've put it all together in one full solution, so that turnkey now, all those areas in the dealership that most dealerships aren't doing efficiently or could be doing even better, we take over for a fraction of the cost that the dealership it's costing them now in real labor hours. People not showing up for work, people not wanting to do the job, people don't know how to do it. This is our area of expertise. This is all we train on every day. Soldiers to overcome objections in each one of those pain points in those areas, and to warm up the leads throughout the database and all those different profit centers that the dealerships aren't maximizing on. That leaky faucet, it's in at least 11 areas in every dealership. And what we'll do from there, it will be able to transparently show them how we do those things, not only in sales, but on the service side, in the fixed ops side as well. We have a one-stop shop, full solution, turnkey, and all you have to do is turn us on. And the opportunity cost isn't just in the fixed cost savings of human beings, but it's the opportunity cost of the increased revenue. Fixed ops side, service, we blink our eyes, that's 30% gain in revenue in month one. And then on the sales side, if someone's down 20 cars, 50 cars, or 100 cars, they just have to see the amount of people, right, at their closing percentage to get those sales. We increase closing percentages because we increase the percentage of people showing up through our training as well.
Beautiful. Well, this was great, Dave. Thank you. This has been an awesome first episode here of the Paramount Podcast. We'll have more episodes coming on weekly here. So thank you for your time, Dave, and to many more conversations.
Great job hosting. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Tom.